There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams.
Yeah, can Rayleigh hold him off? He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth, able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Cantonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if you can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch.
Deeper in the field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. And to turn number 9 for the final time. Lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on Peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows he can't give an opportunity to Kevin Cantonio. Cantonio's going to take it anyway. Ships it into the hairpin, and Rayleigh's going to get away. Thomas Rayleigh is going to be a race winner in the North American Racing League. A last lap bump and run wasn't enough. This man wins at Long Beach.
Wow, what a finish coming through that hairpin. I thought they were all going to wad it up. We had lap traffic in there, staying in there.
Zelazny might have a run here. He pulls up. 2 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. What a run this has been. 5 cars out front just dancing around for the lead. Salas back to the bottom. Honeycutt stuck up top. Slide job out of Salas. Crossover out of Honeycutt.
23 should have a big run here. He does.
You see Salas starting to cover it up. He goes up the racetrack. Honeycutt's clear of them both. He shoves it up in front of the 23, gets himself loose. It'll be white flag this time by. Salas down low. Zelazny looking for a hole. Side by side, 3 wide, coffee in it. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Who is going to win the Luke's Playhouse 200? Honeycutt controlling the race. Coffee in second. Tires are aging. Zelazny off the top rope. Got a little bit free. He's going to crash with lights. And yes, wall there. Who knows? Honeycutt, though, leading the race. Can Coffee get a run? He's going to send it. He hits him. Big bump and run. Coffee's going to try and get away. Can Salas get there? Coffee's going to crash. Salas is going to crash. Watch Nick Lights here to the stripe. Salas is going to do it with no front bumper.
Unbelievable.
Wow. While the North American Racing League officially reopened for business last week with pros and pro-ams right here in Austria, it's now the turn of the AM drivers to give it their all. 45 drivers have registered to race this season, and all being in one class this season, they've certainly got lots stacked against them. Welcome to Pit Stop TV and the virtual Spielberg, Austria. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. I don't know why those graphics loaded. It's on a timer. Let it go through. That's for our broadcast in a little bit. I'm not sure why they... Anyways, we'll move on. Forget that part even happened. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV as usual. I've got Chris Winstone alongside this evening. He's joining us for the first time here at Pit Stop TV, and it's a pleasure, as always, to join you for coverage of the North American Racing League GT3 series for season number 9. Tonight's coverage from Red Bull Ring, as you would have seen if my silly goose self had loaded the right graphics there. Tonight's broadcast, as always, brought to you by Muradness, JS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. I guess I can give them their time in the sun here with this graphic. Those logos you should have seen there. Some difficulties maybe with having two broadcasts in one night for the first time in a long time for us, but I promise that'll be sorted out for next time. But what I do want to talk about here, Chris, and get back to normal programming, if you will, is this racetrack. You raced here a week ago with the pros and pro-ams as a pro-am yourself. This place is a lot of fun. I don't really understand it as a driver, but that's okay. I'm not holding a steering wheel tonight. But what is it like to hold a steering wheel with these drivers in this league here at the Red Bull Ring?
It can be pretty intense. This track especially gets pretty tricky. It's one of those where it's easy to learn and difficult to master. The track limits can be particularly tricky here, which mixes up the qualifying order. We had pro guys out of position, and that can create a lot of chaos on the first lap, especially with those long runs to 1 and down to 3. And also the tires, they take a while to warm up. So look for those first couple laps, everybody being a little loose, and maybe some aggression trying to make up missed out positions from qualifying.
So there you go, from a Pro-Am driver himself, some things to watch for here this evening with Red Bull Ring on tap. I do want to get to the schedule, of course. We talked about this same schedule more or less last week with the pros and such, but here's a look at it with the date specifically for the AM category here this season. From January 15th here this evening all the way down through May 14th at Road America. I mean, it's the same schedule we saw last week, just dates adjusted, but this is definitely a diverse schedule, I think. We started out here in Europe with Austria and with Spa. We head over to the Americas for Indianapolis, Mexico, and Watkins Glen. We take a brief trip overseas to Japan for Suzuka, and then it's right back at home for Virginia and for Road America. It's diverse, though. Even with, 5 rounds in the United States, or I guess, in North America, because Mexico's, of course, Mexico, but regardless, it's still diverse, a lot of different kinds of racetracks. I love that we have Indianapolis back on the schedule. That's kind of, it's almost hitting the Roval vibe of like Daytona and Charlotte, but it's definitely different. It's more of a kind of road course feel than either one of those two tracks, I think. There's a lot to be had here.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good tracks to look forward to. We kind of had a multiple choice voting, so I think the drivers really picked some solid selections during the registration. Spa is going to be great. That's always a classic. Indy, like you said. One I'm kind of looking forward to is Watkins Glen, because I had never raced there until I was practicing for it a few weeks ago in the officials, and that one gets pretty wild. So that, I think, will be another really fun one to watch.
Watkins Glen is definitely a very fun racetrack to go to. I think I'm desensitized to it from the NASCAR world, but it's very cool to have here this season. And, Spa has been off the schedule for seasons now. It feels like, go back to 2020, 2021, when a lot of the tracks we have now were still being developed by iRacing. Spa was used a lot, and it was the old tired version from 2009, 2010, whatever it was. And so it just got really stale really quick, but now it's been refreshed, completely redone on iRacing. Looks fantastic, and it's going to be good to get back to Spa, actually, next up after this round here in Austria. It's going to be good to head back over to Belgium for that one. Mexico, it being a brand new racetrack to iRacing, that's a huge one, I think, to hit. And, we certainly have a lot of Hispanic drivers within the series from, I mean, Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina. We've had drivers from Uruguay and such. It's going to be good to give them a race kind of their direction. I do wish we had Interlagos back on the schedule, but maybe next time. I know that was one that narrowly missed out in voting, but qualifying is getting going. I suppose we should flip on over to that here, Chris, as this is usually a very stressful time for you, but you don't have to worry about it tonight.
Yeah, it's stress-free tonight. This is a little bit more enjoyable. I don't have to be sweating and white-knuckle gripping the steering wheel just trying to survive and keep it pointed straight. I get to watch everybody else put on the show. We've got a few drivers that had already come out and practice and set some pretty good pace. Armando Aarons, I think, is going to be one to watch. He had really good pace in practice. Also, Emiliano Almiron he was right there with him. I think those two are going to be pretty tight. That might be our fight for the lead there.
And there is Emiliano in the number 22 car this season in his Mercedes. And, just like with the pros and pro-ams last week, I don't know how much Zach and I talked about it in that race, in that broadcast, but I will say these guys, league-wide, are locked into these cars. And that is a big choice to have to make ahead of 8 very diverse races, especially with the iRacing Season 2 build that will be coming out in March. You've got to pick a car that is going to stand the test of time for a handful of months, into May. So you've got to make sure you choose very wisely. At least at the top, the higher levels, I think it's a little easier to choose, a little more willy-nilly here in the AM class because, these guys are still learning a little bit compared to the pros and pro-ams. You and I were talking about that a little bit before the broadcast started, but I think you can be a little more liberal with your choices here in this particular series. But you still want to make sure you choose a car that is going to be comfortable for the next few months.
Yeah, for sure. I think the order of the day is front engine cars. It's definitely, you have an advantage with those. So there's a lot of them. But like you said, and like we talked about, there's a lot more you can make up for technique-wise, where you can kind of have a little bit more freedom. And also, it's sometimes it's fun to just be like the only Ferrari on the grid, and then when you perform well, you're like, wow, they did that in a Ferrari, So, the choice, I like that there's more of an open choice in this. It makes it a little bit more interesting, seeing more cars out there.
Well, we do have a little bit more variety here this evening, and now for the AM class here in Season 9 versus what we saw in Pros and Pro-Ams last week. It was a lot of Mustangs and Aston Martins, and even Mercedes a week ago. Tonight, we have a Ferrari on top currently in qualifying. That's Devin Jenkins in car double lot. Alex DeMarco is in a Mustang. He sits in second right now in qualifying, but Thiago Tavela is in an Aston. So already 3 positions, 3 different manufacturers. There's our first repeat. No, that's actually a 4th different manufacturer across 4 different positions at the top of the field in qualifying currently. The first repeat will actually now come because Pierre Thompson is into 3rd. That bumps Dean Kerr down to 5th, as Emiliano Almiron will go 6th in qualifying, and Anthony Wayand is back up towards the top. He goes 2nd quick, just 3/10 off of Devin Jenkins. Devin Jenkins looks really, really good. I don't know how he managed this lap so much quicker than everybody else, but boy, it's looking good right now.
Well, I think also one thing to consider, it takes the tires a little bit longer to warm up here, especially the rears. You're looking at like 3-4 laps before they're really up to temperature. So the first lap is kind of almost a throwaway. You're just trying to get it warmed up. And then the second one, it's really important not to get bit by track limits so you have something. I think a lot of these laps we might be seeing might be those second laps. I know I saw Dean Kerr step into the gravel coming through turn 8 out of 7, and that's an off track pretty much every time. So he might have had a heater of a lap there that there's a lot of places to lose a really good lap time around here.
Here's a look on board now with the lone Lamborghini that I've seen so far, and we saw a couple of these do relatively well in this race a week ago for the pros and pro-ams, but Diego Melo on board this Lamborghini, nearly top 10. Nearly. He's about 3/100ths of a second off of top 10 currently in this qualifying session, and he's got this last lap remaining to try and go break into the top 10. You see he's about 6.5 tenths off of pole time. at a 129.610. So to break into 10th, he would just need to beat a 129.581. So he doesn't have too terribly far to go, but that sounds relatively small to us in the broadcast booth. To you guys in the car, man, that's a insurmountable difference sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I think he might be able to do it. We'll see what he is when he comes across the line here, but that looked like a pretty decent lap that he just put together, at least in the sectors we were following. There we go. There's an improvement, 29.2.
It seems like it was an off track.
Never mind, that's the wrong one. Yep, off track, yep.
Yeah,
yep, that's what'll get you. And there's so much, it's the drivers who are going to do well here are the ones who can manage to get as close to that off track, because you really got to open the corners up. There's a lot where you got to really emphasize the exits, and if you step out just a little bit too much, then that's your whole lap done, and now you're starting 10 or 15 positions back as close as everybody is on pace.
With about 51 seconds to go here in qualifying, I do want to take a look at the MX Wraps weather conditions. 65 degrees in the air, 68 on track, and take a look at the date and time as well, January 16th in Sim. So I love that Scott's doing this, actually. It's about as realistic as we can be. I'm sure Spielberg probably has snow on the ground, or if not, very close to it. I'm sure it's much chillier than this, but while they might take 65 degrees in the air right now, we, in iRacing terms, I mean, this is cold. This is as cold as you can make it in the air, and still a pretty chilly track temp. For these guys, I mean, what does that mean in the driver's seat? Of course, cooler temps mean you aren't going to slide the tires as much, maybe, but it also takes more to get the tires up to temperature to actually get them to grip and to not slide. Because if you are on cold tires in a cold racetrack, maybe you slide more until they get up to temperature.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, first few laps, you really got to kind of work to make sure, and with a huge grid like we've got in both of these divisions, it's space is at a premium those first couple of laps, so you're trying to warm them up and get comfortable before, or without making contact with anybody. But then once they get up to temperature, you can be a lot harder on them, and you don't have to worry about wear. So we shouldn't see anybody taking tires. Should just be, you can really push and really get as much as you can out of the car.
Well, we're going to take a look at our very first starting grid, brought to you by ATVO for the AM class of the North American Racing League here in season number 9. We're going to rush through this a little bit because we have a special moment to bring up in just a moment, but for now, let's go through your starting grid. Devin Jenkins on pole in car 00 alongside Tiago Tavela in car 717. That is back in my brain, a Ferrari alongside an Aston Martin on the front row for reference. A Mercedes in position 3, that's Anthony Wayand alongside a Mustang in position number 4, Alex DeMarco. Back in row 3, it is another Mercedes and Pierre Thompson alongside a BMW in David Stevenson. 7th and 8th, it'll be Dean Kerr and Emilio Almiron. And to complete your top 10 here, Chris, Armando Bejaran and Norman Padovani.
All right, so we move to the next 10. 11th, Diego Melo, starting next to Billy Bowerman. He's been around for a while. Good to see him back. 13th, Armando Aarons. We're looking for some good results from him this season. 14th, Wilton Palermo. Then we move back to 199 of Mark Booley, and then 16th, the 49 car of Cooper Brownell. Followed by Richard Wolsifer and Mitch Buenaventura in the 18th spot, another regular, and then Robert Guadagnoli with Anthony Estone right next to him in 20th.
And Richard Wolster, by the way, is the top qualifying driver, making a conversion, if you will, over from the BRB Racing League that we cover on Tuesdays. He is the top of those NASCAR-style drivers in qualifying. The next of those drivers is Brendan Maddox here in the 21st spot. He's been a points leader earlier in the season over in the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Logan Smith will start from 22nd, then it's Salmarine Sharon in 23rd, Dominic Turcotte 24th, row 13, Miguel Alcrudo, and another of those BRB regulars in Braxton Skinner. Back in 27th, Nathan Fuller, Scott Angelo in 28th, and to complete your top 30, Zachary Brandvold and Jordan Hendricks.
All right, starting 31st, Christian Gritzko. Starting 32nd alongside the number 8 of Corey McQueen. Moving back to the next row, starting 33rd, Jose DeLeo. Starts next to the 410 of Dan Sales. In 34th, then we have Mason Hausman, the 83 in 35th. Then the 666 of Denardi in 36th, and 37th is the 316th of Nicholas Renner.
And what you're seeing now is a display of respect to one of these drivers' grandmothers who passed away earlier this week, and that is going to be Miss Grandma Sylvia Gritsko. That is Christian Gritsko's grandmother from Moldova, who passed away earlier this week, and we certainly extend our what's the word? I can't even think right now, but our respect, our condolences, that's what I was looking for, our condolences out to the Gritsko family this week and beyond as they work to move through this. This is all obviously a very difficult time for them. You can see a tribute there to Christian's grandmother on the roof of his car right over where his driver is sitting in that vehicle. So again, we'll take a brief moment of silence here as, oh my goodness, Christian has gone for a spin. The car's okay. He'll get lined back up. That's going to be a little more stressful for him now, but he at least will continue on to be able to start this race still as we give our respects to the Gritsko family in Moldova this evening. Quickly, the field is headed down to turn number 10 to get this race started. We are going to get this first lap underway and then hit you with the Whiplash SimCam's race details. But here we go, out of turn 10, down the front straightaway and up the hill, we have got green flag for the AM drivers in Austria. One car sideways there out of turn number 1 off to the side. That's okay as the field comes into focus up towards Remus for the first time. This is going to be sketchy down into turn number 3. Always is, but the field is relatively strung out here already on lap 1.
Yeah, it looks like pretty well behaved so far. The leaders are kind of already getting single file.
That's not good. That is Armando Aarons in the 7. That's that purple, white, and black Mustang turned around. He'll get back going. The field now exits turn 4, and this is what's left of it up front. You do see the 4-car breakaway and then a big gaggle there.
Yeah, there's bound to be some sort of incident on lap 1. It's pretty tight. Oh, we've got a little bit of off tracks in the back. Here we've got Tavella trying to close down David Jenkins for the lead. I think, oh, that's a bad exit. That's going to be a fight for the race lead. Here we go. Going into the final 2 corners is very hard to overtake here. Oh, he's just going to let him by. That's kind of the smart choice. No need to risk it this early.
So there you go, lead change lap 1. And everybody gets across the line here for a lap number 1 at the Red Bull Ring. There are some battles up front. You saw that quick move from 3rd. That is between Anthony Land and Pierre Thompson, as it looks like Emiliano Almiron is in trouble as well here at the open of this race.
Looks like he's missing his rear wing. That's tough for him. He was one of the faster guys in practice. But
let's go back.
If it's got to happen, sprint race is when you want that to happen. You can at least try to make it up.
Well, and exactly that. I do want to mention that as we get to the replay here of what's just gone on for lap number 1. So Whiplash SimCam's race details. If you're brand new here, this is a 20-minute sprint race that we've started with. We just kind of ran out of time to mention it before we went green. So 20-minute sprint race followed by a 40-minute feature. There will be a top 8 invert in between races. There you see the other details as well, 45% fuel and such. I want to see what happened here to the number 7, though, of Armando Aarons. This is turn number 3, lap 1. He gets into the back bumper of that 22 there, spins him around, and then he gets kicked around as a result.
Yeah, you always got to be ready for that. You know something's going to happen on lap 1. It's if you see smoke and everything sideways, sometimes it's just luck of the draw, but I think everybody's kind of expecting it. Most people seem to make it through okay.
And that number 22 that was involved in that was Emiliano Almiron, that we saw be so quick earlier in practice out of Argentina, and he has an issue later on in the lap, so we'll see what happens to him a little bit later and then come back to live picture here. He's racing with the 777. That's going to be, and of course this is a replay, but that was David Stevenson at the time. So this is up towards the top 10. at the time that this happens. This is down into turn 9, checks up real hard for DeMarco on the inside, Stevenson on the outside. Turn 10 now, up the inside comes the 04. Contact is made, 3 wide, and then the 04 comes back over, and Emiliano made contact with him, and that's what ends up happening to car 22 ultimately.
That is tough. It looked. I'm not sure if the car on the outside, if he had regained control and was trying to rejoin, or if he.
Let's take a look overhead. So you'll see the dive from the 04 here into turn 10. I don't think Emiliano knew he was there. And then Dean Kerr gets there, and then Emiliano comes out to the curbing, and the 04 is still out there. So that's just a really difficult spot to be in, especially for the AM class. To be 3 wide in turn 10 on lap 1 here, that's no easy feat. So one more look from a little bit higher above. Not as high this time, but you see it down there in turn 10. Off the corner, I guess it's not the greatest view, but you can see the field go by.
Looked like maybe Dean Kerr kind of surprised him a little bit too, and he tried to, once he realized Dean was on his right, he tried to kick back out to his left, but there was just no space, and that happens. You really got, it's especially when you're in the middle, you got to be ready for those aggressive moves, and sometimes it's just bad luck. You just get caught up where there's no room.
Some trouble further back. Logan Smith off the racetrack in turns 9 and 10. He gets back going. Norman Padovani, it seems, has been sent to the pit lane maybe. Could this be a penalty? I think you're in the session, right?
I am. It says we've got Armando Aarons has a black flag, and Norman Padovani has a black flag, and Saul Marin Charon also. So a few black flags being handed out for the lap 1 aggression. We know Scott's pretty strict on that.
Yeah. That is one thing that we all know about Scott Reister at this point in time. Lap 1 incidents very heavily penalized. I think the jury might be out on turn 10 specifically with Norman Padovani and with Emilio. I think it could have gone either way. That honestly, that penalty, if anything, might be more so to give them kind of a more even result out of it, and maybe just to try and say, you know, Emilio's already kind of served the penalty of being crashed, so we're gonna throw Norman back there as well as maybe just a deterrent for lap 1 later on and beyond in this season. But with about 6 minutes complete here in the sprint race, Jeff Denardi's now in trouble. Another Lamborghini. This is out in the middle portion of the lap.
Pulling a lot of gravel right there on that exit. It should be okay. Your car's usually pretty planted by the time you come out of that corner, but
I just saw Devin Jenkins go fastest, at least for a moment, until Mitch Buenaventura pulled it away. Devin Jenkins is this Ferrari in tow of the leading Aston Martin. That is, of course, Thiago Tavela, and this is very close between these two. I do have some expectations for one driver in the field, I will say, just because of what we've seen him do over in the BRB Sundance Pro Series in the past on road courses. But I will say, Mason Houseman is not as high as I would have expected right now. Mason has 2 championships over on Tuesday nights in the BRB Sundance Pro Series, each coming in seasons 2 and 3. He's right behind a big moment here for a Mustang, a Corvette, and a Mercedes. It's by Miguel Alcrudo, and Alcrudo goes back by. Dominic Turcotte seems to have been involved in this, but more on Mason Houseman in a moment. Let's see what happened there. This is just up the road slightly. Dominic Turcotte is that gold Corvette. Trying to see if we can get a good view here. He's trying to come over behind. Oh, wow. That actually shows a good bit. The 544 ends up moving over into Dominic. That was Miguel Alcrudo in the 544, the Mustang. Let's see if this is a better angle. So Miguel Alcrudo up the right side is stuck in behind the 64 of Bob Guadagnoli. He gets into the grass, shoots over into Turcotte, and that's what happens there. Guadagnoli falls further back. Alcrudo fights back into turn 4 here and does not let Houseman take that spot so easily. But back to Mason Houseman in that yellow and silver Ford Mustang as he continues to battle here now with Miguel Alcrudo. Houseman, two-time champion over on Tuesdays in the NASCAR scene with the BRB Sundance Pro Series. He runs every once in a while, still in season number 5. He's a little more part-time now, but he has definitely become one of the better drivers over there on Tuesdays, as one of his teammates and other drivers in the BRB Sundance Pro Series, Braxton Skinner, just had a moment. I mentioned Richard Wolfsfer, and I promise I'll get off my soapbox here in a second for you, Chris, but I mentioned Richard Wolfsfer earlier, that the highest of those NASCAR-style drivers. He's in a Corvette. He is here battling for 13th, make that, alongside Mark Booley, as Booley goes by there for that spot.
Well, that's some tough competition to be throwing yourself right into, coming from a different racing series. This is pretty tough stuff, but it looks like they're holding their own. That incident, it looked like almost the Mercedes had slowed down. But good job on Houseman for staying, kind of avoiding the worst of it. And he didn't quite get the position, but he's still up there. He's still competitive, so it's good to see the Oval guys out in force today.
I will say, you see Bob Guadagnoli just got back on the racetrack alongside these guys. This is Wayand and DeMarco up to turn number 3. Guadagnoli let them go by. He is a lap down, so he might have had an issue or something else going on. So he easily could have slowed down in front of those two cars, Alcrudo and Turcotte. But this is a heck of a battle between a handful of cars in the top 10. I mean, this is Alex DeMarco and the number 2 up here in the Mustang. This green Mercedes is Anthony Wayand in 5th. David Stevenson is the car behind the BMW right there in 6th. Then it's Diego Mello on the right side now in the Lamborghini. And then you've got Cooper Brownell, a new name to me, one I've not heard before. But in car 49 here in a Ferrari, he's in this fight. He's 8th.
Yeah, he's just kind of looking for a spot. It's tricky when you've got two guys battling in front of you. You're looking for an opportunity, but you got to make sure you keep your nose out of trouble. He seems to be doing a good job biding his time. You still got 10 minutes. You're only about halfway done. So just keep it close, fill up the mirror, put some pressure on. That guy in the middle, when you're that guy in the middle, the pressure is heavy because you feel it. You're like, if I don't make a move and get around this guy, then this guy behind me is going to eat me up. So it can definitely help. If you're the one in the middle, I feel like that's the most likely that we'll see a mistake out of. But oh, that's keeping it real tight. I think we're going to see a move down here in the 3.
Looking back from Stevenson's perspective at Brownell in the Ferrari, and yeah, you're right. When you're in that middle position in a 3-car fight, you're out the windshield and out the mirrors. I mean, you're having to watch both at the same time. And, you know, so many driving coaches will tell you, just watch the windshield, forget the mirrors, to get a driver focused. But man, when you're wheel to wheel like this, you have to watch both. You have to watch the mirrors, or in this case, the camera there to the right side of the dash. That's helpful for sure to have it right there in your line of sight. But even there, you know, Brownell got in deep into turn 4, and he got real close to packing the back end there of David Stevenson. So just imagine also having a car behind Cooper, and that's the kind of stuff that Stevenson's going through right now, being the middle car between two others in this fight. You're having to make sure you don't get in too deep to the car ahead of you, but also try to pass the car ahead of you, and you're having to defend over the car behind you and make sure they don't get a run if you want to hang on to that spot. So it's definitely a very, very difficult spot to be in. What is helping these guys, at least in this sprint race, Chris, is, of course, we don't expect pit stops in this 20-minute sprint. We, of course, will expect pit stops in the 40-minute feature in a little bit, but pit stops not really a concern for these guys. They've got enough fuel to go to the end of this 20-minute sprint. This is just to kind of get the night started in that way. But those pit stops in the feature will be very, very important. And if you haven't done a green flag pit stop in a GT3 car like this, boy, it's going to be interesting. Of course, you do have the pit limiter. It's not quite as hardcore as bringing a stock car to the pit lane, but that still does not make it easy.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully they did some practice. Usually it's a good idea in the hour practice beforehand, you know. Oh, we got one of the M squad off. It's not good. Scott Angelo.
He gets back on the racetrack here. There's battles all over. Here's Zach Branfold, another Spirit Racing entry in the 55, teammate to Mason Houseman. He's just been passed up by Salmarin Sharon, as off the racetrack here was Corey McQueen in the number 8. And there goes the 22 of Emilio Almiron, who has not taken a fast repair. How has he gone this long with no rear wing?
Well, I guess you got less drag, but I mean, there's definitely a few corners that's going to make it pretty tricky in, where you really need the rear grip. It could be one of those things where we don't see it and he's got it, but I mean, usually if you don't have a rear wing, you're going to notice pretty quick.
Yeah, iRacing has gotten a lot better about the new damage model and transmitting when cars actually are missing pieces, even on the client side to the other clients in the session. This is really surprising to me, to see him not have a wing on the car but not be spinning out, especially right here in these faster corners through the middle portion of the lap, and even 9 and 10 at the back end of the lap. I mean, those would be the higher downforce required corners, higher lateral Gs and such. As one car has a problem, that's Jeff Denardi in the Lamborghini. He's off in the gravel, gets back on. Boy, these AM drivers are keeping us honest here. They're giving us a lot to talk about.
They are. There's a lot of good battles. I was just watching one with Hausman. I was trying to keep an eye on him. He's having a great day. Just had a great overtake into one. But that's like you said, there's battles all over the place. It's hard to get them all. There's so much going on right now.
One that I've had my eye on, and is going to be interesting to see in the feature when they invert, is Wayand and Marco. They have been on top of one another, the 81 and the 2 cars. Alex DeMarco in the 2, Anthony Wayand here in the 81, and even throw in Diego Mello in the 66, the Lamborghini back there. These 3 have been on top of each other for a handful of laps. And in the feature, when they invert and get right back to it, it's going to be very exciting to see them now in front of some drivers that might be a little bit faster as they try to come through and interrupt this fight. It's going to be a lot to watch and to manage, certainly from their perspective, but for everybody around them. It's going to be worth noting as the night goes on here. 5 minutes to go in this race. We expect that to be about 3 laps. As I see a battle here with Buenaventura on the driver's left, and that was David Stevenson up driver's right into turn 1. That was for 8th spot.
That's good. That's the inverted position, I believe, correct? 8th. So that's going to be really important. Like, one thing we always mention is how close everybody is on pace here. And because of that, I was almost wondering, I was watching Diego Mello here in the back of this battle we're watching, if you almost just want to say, well, I mean, well, it looks like he's just getting let by. I think he might have a slow down.
Yeah, I think so.
From turn 1, he went off there pretty wide. See if he can fight back. But then again, once that field inverts, you guys are close on pace. You've been able to hold everybody off. Say, okay, don't make that mistake again, but I think I can keep these guys behind me. So maybe if we do invert the field, those faster guys will overtake them and give me a little bit of a gap. So there's a lot of reasons to be patient in this sprint race, and there's a lot of reasons to be a little aggressive too. So
I definitely think if you're in Devin Jenkins' position, you don't want to be too aggressive trying to chase down Thiago Tavelo, because you can ride second for this, I think. You can afford, especially in round 1, to ride second and just accept this. But for these guys down around the invert, you're going to want to be more aggressive. You're going to be wanting to get into that 8th spot, because that's such a boost on the grid for the feature. If you're Mitch Bonaventura, you're talking about gaining all of that from 8th up to 1st if he can just get ahead here of David Stevenson. And for Stevenson, he just made that pass, so he's finally into that spot where he'd be gaining all of those starting positions there for the feature here in just a little bit. So definitely a lot on the line for these spots. I think south of these positions, get back to guys like Richard Wolfsford and Dominic Turcotte here, it's a little bit less important for these guys, because of course they're not going to be in that invert. As up the inside of Wolfsford goes Turcotte, and that's Corvette on Corvette there.
Ooh, that sounds good.
This is a really cool sound. I've not heard 2 Corvettes side by side before. I like it. And Wolfsford ultimately relents. That's for 13th. Mason Hausman has passed up Richard Wolfsford, by the way. Hausman is one to watch, clearly. He started 35th in this race. I noted, and I wanted to mention earlier, he did not qualify. He didn't turn any qualifying laps, so he was up towards the top of the order in practice, chose not to qualify. I don't know if he's going for the hard charger of the night or what, but to have started 35th 18 minutes ago and now be 12th I don't know that he's going to get 11th. Certainly, I don't think he's going to get 10th, unless there's a big mistake ahead. But to have gone through 23 positions, everybody needs to watch out for this white and yellow Mustang.
Definitely. He is putting his name in the running for driver of the day very early on in the night. He's been pretty steady, just staying out of trouble. And maybe I wonder if maybe the oval races, I don't have much experience in those, but the ones I have done, they turn chaotic pretty quickly. So maybe he's just good at avoiding all the chaos. Maybe that's a skill that kind of comes into play here a little bit. But having a great night for sure.
And I told all these guys in a group chat, hey, lap 1 is the biggest enemy. You just got to be careful lap 1. Get to lap 2, and it should all fall into place as long as you keep your car between the white lines. That was the big thing, is just be careful there at the start of the race. Don't do anything too crazy. Starts and restarts in NASCAR style races, you want to get everything you can, but over here, just be careful, just survive, and the race will come to you. As we got a great battle here for ultimately the sprint race win here in a few moments. Devin Jenkins is hounding Thiago Tavella here for the race lead. It'll be white flag this time brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. One more time around the Red Bull Ring for these two drivers.
Got to get a good exit here if you're Jenkins. This is very important.
He did not.
Looks like he stayed close. It's okay, but that's not enough. That's not going to get it done. So now really banking on turn 3. And it's hard to get the power down coming out of turn 3. There you go. He's forcing him to go a little bit defensive. He's opened it up for himself.
Didn't get it there either.
Nope, not going to get it done. So he's keeping it close, but I mean, if you're in the lead right now, the pressure's kind of easing a little bit. You feel it, but you're like, all right, I just got to survive a few more corners and I'm okay.
Certainly, I think Thiago can breathe now. A pass can still happen. It's going to have to be forced, though, at this point. Yeah.
Just don't make a mistake. Just don't, easy on the brakes. It's really hard to get around anywhere up here. So as long as you keep it pointed in the right direction, you should be all right.
On this final lap of this sprint race this evening, I want to give a big thank you to our partners with the series, those being Muradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service, and Rocket Designs. Saul Lorin Sharon has been slow this lap as Jenkins takes a look there into turn 9, no dice, and certainly I don't think there will be any here in turn 10 either. So, off of turn number 4, not 4, see my oval tendencies, off of turn number 10 here at the Red Bull Ring, Thiago Tavella will win the sprint race for round number 1 of the North American Racing League AM division here in season number 9. The field all comes up the front straightaway now. Wayand over Mello, DeMarco, Brownell, and Stevenson will hang on to 8th. Mitch Buenaventura, the first driver south of the invert, with Billy Bowerman in 10th spot as everybody else comes across the line and past our speed shot here on the front stretch. One really cool note here for this race. 33 cars out of 35 that started on the lead lap. So yes, we had some kerfuffles, as they say. We had some moments and some cars go to the pit lane for damage and for penalties, but all things told, to have 33 of 35 on the lead lap after 20 minutes here at Red Bull Ring, especially for the AM class, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. That's impressive, keeping it clean, and I think more of the chaos we'll see in the next race, which it's kind of interesting because it's the same amount of points. So you're really almost looking at the sprint race as maybe I can get a few extra positions on top of qualifying. And like we said, we were talking about Mason Hausman, started 35th, ended up 12th. That's very impressive. Had a great sprint race. We'll see what he can do. Hopefully he can make up some more positions. Maybe he'll be fighting for the top 10. Some mistakes happen. You never know. You could find yourself way up the order starting that close. So,
and of course, heat race format on iRacing makes it difficult for us to go through the full results. We'll just go off of the grid here at a moment. That will reflect, for the most part, the results there from race number 1 on the evening. I do want to mention, this might be a little bit triggering for some NASCAR fans, but it's almost like stages. Right, it's almost like a segment or a stage to a race where the stage just pays even points with the race as a whole. where it's basically just a higher paying stage here for the 20-minute race. And then you've still got to go out there and manage this next race because the positions carry over for the most part. You know, from 9th through 35th, the positions all carry over from the results of race 1 to the grid of race 2. Really, the only thing changing is that top 8. They're just moving around a little bit like it was a pit stop almost. So maybe a little triggering for some NASCAR fans that don't like stages, but we do have a special guest to add into the broadcast booth here this evening. Scott Reister, he's actually commentated before, believe it or not, but Scott Reister, he's not commentating this evening. He has in the past, but Scott is here to tell us a little bit about what we should know about the North American Racing League here in season number 9 and beyond, as more seasons are on the way, more events that are on the way. And Scott, as we just take this moment in between sessions, I'm just going to turn the floor over to you. It sounds like you've got some pretty juicy details.
Well, I don't want to take up too much time. You guys are doing a great job. I'm enjoying the broadcast. The AM guys put on a great show, as the pros did last week. It's very intimidating racing with some of the pros myself. I look at the iRatings of 5K average, and it's about 1,000 more than I have. But I just wanted to go over some of the upcoming races that we're going to be putting on. The guys can prepare for. After this season, I'm going to get with you on scheduling. We're actually going to start P Cup again. So it'll be our 4th season of P Cup. And try to do the same as we're doing with these races. An AM and a pro race separated by weeks. So it's not all bunched together, depending on how many signups we get. But P Cup has been pretty popular in the past. So that's the next scheduled series that we're going to run. And looking at maybe talking with you about doing a special event, maybe a 4 or 6 hour weekend race, endurance type race, 2-man team. So looking forward to putting on cash days again. So
absolutely, it all sounds fun to us, and I definitely miss the previous cash days events we've done way back when. So I'm curious, you mentioned the P Cup, of course. I'd imagine with the new Porsche Cup car that was just released in December, that'll be the car of choice, I would think.
I have not driven it yet, but I've heard good things about it compared to the previous version of it. So everyone seems to think that it would be fun to race again. And so it sounds like, we've had good luck with the P Cup in the past, a lot of attendance. So we're going to try it again.
And we're starting to see some crossover now because admittedly we've got, I think, 7 or 8 drivers from our Tuesday series that we cover. That's the NASCAR style. Richard Wolfsburg, Brendan Maddox, Mason Houseman, some of those guys coming over and racing here this season in the AM division. So to any of those other guys that might be, seeing their teammates and their fellow drivers from oval racing come try this thing out, what do you say to them to bring them as well? The ones that are watching tonight but haven't registered yet. Maybe they can't register this season, but what do you say to them to encourage them to try this out as time goes on?
Yeah, we're real excited that some of the NASCAR guys came over from sprint racing. Mason is very impressive. I mean, moving up 23 grid spots from, I guess he had some issues with qualifying, but he's extremely fast. From what I don't really know oval racing too much, but I believe they run a lot of road courses. So learning to race with these guys probably would help their racecraft in the oval too. So
yeah, one of the racetracks on the schedule here for NARL this season, albeit a different configuration, it'll be Watkins Glen, it is on the schedule for the BRB Sundance Pro Series. So that's cool to see a little bit of crossover there. But Scott, thank you for your time. What would be a time frame, I suppose, since we're going into kind of mid-May? What's a time frame these drivers can expect? Obviously, you and I will iron out final dates and stuff. But what's a time frame for drivers who want to register to expect?
I'm gonna get with you on scheduling, but I would want to try to start in June if possible, as early as June. That way, it's like give a 2 week break, but 2 or 3 week break between this and the next one. But get it going as soon as possible, and then also schedule the Cash Days event on a weekend. So
there you go. And we already have one question actually from one of those other drivers in the BRB Sundance Pro Series on Tuesdays wanting to join. Are registrations at all still open for AM, or are they missing out, unfortunately, for season 9?
No, they can still register. Just direct message me. There's plenty of spots left in the AM division, so obviously they're going to miss one race, but you do get to drop a race, so all the remaining races will count. Just direct message me of interest in joining this season of the AM race, and then we'll get you in. Unfortunately, the pro race we're pretty full, so there's no available spots in the pro series race, but the AMs have plenty of spots left.
Sure. Well, I know who that was. Go ahead.
But you guys are doing a great job. I'm going to get back to watching you and Chris broadcast this race, and enjoy the rest of the race.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time, Scott. I know who that is, so I'll get him in touch with you. But thank you for your time, Scott. Best of luck in Spa in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
That's Scott Reister, who does race as well in the Pro and Pro-Am race that we'll have at Spa here very soon. We do have cars on the grid and now rolling off the grid, so let's go ahead and bomb through these quickly. Of course, we had the 8-car invert, Chris, but out front now will be David Stevenson on the ATVO starting grid, leading us to the green for tonight's 40-minute feature, alongside Cooper Brownell in the Ferrari, Alex DeMarco, Diego Mello there in row number 2, Anthony Wayand, Pierre Thompson, row 3, back to row 4, Devin Jenkins and Tiago Tavela, and how about row 5, Mitch Buenaventura and Billy Bowerman.
All right, starting row 6, we have in 11th on the inside Anthony Estone, and 12th outside Mason Houseman, who had that great move up the field. In the sprint race, 13th Dominic Turcotte in the 73. In the 56, Richard Wolsifer in 14th will be starting next to him. Moving down, we have starting 15th Miguel Alcrudo, starting next to Mark Booley in the 199 in 16th. Then Wilton Palermo in the 71, starting next to the number 12 of Armando Bejaran. And then Brendan Maddox in 19th, and in 20th, 78 of Jose DeLeo, starting alongside him.
Back in 21st. I know he lost his grandmother this week, but he's done a great job of driving through the field after his spin on the pace lap earlier. Christian Gritzko up to 21st. He'll try to continue that move forward here in the feature. Scott Angelo from 22nd. Braxton Skinner, he races on Tuesdays. He's 23rd. Nathan Fuller grids up in 24th here for the feature, just ahead of Dean Kerr and Armando Aarons. Back in 27th, Saul Morin Charon. I'm still working on the cadence of that name. He'll start 27th alongside Logan Smith. And to complete your top 30, how about Emiliano Almiron, who's been quick tonight, alongside Corey McQueen.
Moving down, we have Zachary Brandvold in 31st, starting next to Norman Pedavani in 32nd. In 33rd, Jeff Dinardi in the 666, starting next to the 64 of Robert Guadagnoli in 34th. And then 35th, we have Jordan Hendricks in the 33, starting next to Dan Sales in the 410. And then finally rounding out the grid, we have Nicholas Renner, who I'm not sure if he ran laps. We'll have to see.
He did not. The bottom two there did not,
Okay.
but Dan has now gridded up here for the feature, so he'll at least get half points or so here this evening. But the field works into turns 9 and 10 and down the hill to get this feature race underway. Thanks so much for joining us here this evening on Pit Stop TV. We thank you for being here for the North American Racing League Round 1 of the AM Series here in Season 9. We are green once again, this time for feature racing in Austria. Up the hill, look at this land rush up to turn number 3, otherwise known as Remus. They're strung out at the front of the field here, Chris, but everybody else very tight, very much side by side into turn number 3.
They still have some packs. They're taking a while to get themselves sorted out, trying to find some more positions in the chaos. But still pretty clean. I think I've seen a little bit of tire smoke, but nobody spun.
Uh-oh.
No
there
contact.
goes McQueen.
Oh, there it is. There's that jinx.
The 7 of McQueen around there out of turn number 3. Everybody else continues. This is the bottom of turn 4 now. A lot of side-by-side here. Lap 1. One car goes off. That's Turcotte. Oh! Into the dust and into the dirt. He will hang on to it.
Big snap.
He could have been in front of all those cars, and it could have been a mega crash there, but thankfully he gets out of harm's way.
Yeah, it was a big snap. Good job not catching anybody else up in that. We're starting to get strung out. There were some good battles through the back. Oh, we got someone turned sideways. Good job avoiding
Oh,
Christian
no.
Gritzko and Nathan Fuller. Oh, but not everybody got around.
Mitch Buenaventura just got absolutely clobbered.
Ooh,
He's
yeah.
done. He's done.
Oh
He'll need
no, we've got contact in front too.
Nathan Fuller,
Big
Christian
off.
Gritzko, and many more here to turn number 9. Richard Wolsifer's around. That's the 56 that you saw further up. Boy, that was a big moment for sure. The back end of lap number 1. Dean Kerr in trouble. But the field continues on. Here is a battle for the lead. We'll follow this to turn 3, then check out what just happened further back. This is David Stevenson and Cooper Brownell. Brownell on driver's left, Stevenson driver's right. Turn 3.
Nice, clean racing, side by side, plenty of room. Two guys behind, waiting, biding their time, looking for an opportunity. It's good to see a Ferrari and a BMW leading the field, though. We'll see if we can continue this battle or if he's just going to back out of it. Yeah, I think that's that done and dusted. Brownell got, oh, is he going to fight back? You can't really fight back on the right side. As long as you keep the left for these double left-handers, you have the inside, you pretty much have it. Yep,
Sticking with it.
The end of that, I think.
Sticking with it just a little bit longer in case there is a battle again, since it is for the race lead. We want to go back and see the replay of what happened there on lap 1, but this is just can't miss TV right now. Now I think we've got some separation. Let's go ahead and check out what happened further back. So we saw, gosh, who started with all of that? That was Mitch, right? Mitch Buenaventura was the first car really
so,
around. Yeah. We saw Turcotte there. That was fine. But this is Mason Houseman, I think, alongside Mitch Buenaventura into kind of turns 6, 7, 8, and 9. Houseman gets away. That's the 00 of Jenkins. He turns down across the nose of Buenaventura. Buenaventura then spins.
Oh, good job for most people getting out of the way.
Until
but I
right
think
there.
Somebody, yeah, you're right at the edge of your grip there. It's so hard to do any kind of adjustment under braking and not kick the back end out and just go around.
That was Logan Smith back here in the green McLaren. We're going to have more replays in a moment because Thiago Tavela has now had trouble. He, of course, just won the sprint race on the evening. But here's Logan Smith's view. We'll even go driver's POV. I mean, he just can't see much. He's got the wheel cranked, and then suddenly he's junk off into the dirt. I do want to go back one more time and see what happened. Maybe even 2 more times. See what happened with Gritzko and company. That's the back end of Buenaventura's incident. His teammate, Christian Gritzko, has this happen. This is out of turn 9. Oh, my goodness. 3 wide, weaving. What the heck happened there?
Yeah, it looked like he got tapped a little bit by the Maradness car on his right. He just wasn't expecting him to be that close, and he kind of got the speed wobbles a little bit and just threw him sideways into Gritzko did a good job of avoiding for the most part. It was just kind of...
I'm going to slow it down here for a second. So the car in the middle, that's the Acura. That's Nathan Fuller. Yeah, you see Dean Kerr made contact with him. I wonder... Kristen, but you can weigh in here. It almost looks like Fuller gets his hand ripped out of, or his wheel ripped out of his hand. The wobbling back and forth. Possible.
I don't know why you would only have one hand on the wheel in that situation, but you're right. It looks like he got kind of slowed up. That made him vulnerable, and that's always the tricky spot is when you avoid. I find this a lot too. You'll avoid contact and then leave yourself vulnerable and get caught up just like that.
That all happened down into turn 9. Ahead of that, you saw Richard Wolsifer off the racetrack. This might be a solo spin for him. He's got nobody around him into the corner. And into turn 9, sure enough, his Corvette just gets out from underneath him. Cold tires, maybe low brake bias in that case. He goes around. And then, oh wow, you see Dean Kerr off in the distance.
There they are.
Wow. And then Thiago has trouble. We're just going to ride this out. From all of that happening, this is now deeper in lap 1. We're going to ride this out maybe for a moment and see if we can find what happened to Thiago. We may need to advance in the replay a little bit. Let's see turn 3 at least and see if we can find it here.
See if there's anything out of the ordinary.
No dice. So let's hit the stinger again. Go forward a little ways. I'll try to scrub through and find it. This is a little bit closer. Later in the same lap. I'm going to bet it's either down here at the end of this lap or into the turn 1 the next time. So this coming time. So let's see, the run up the hill. I'll see if it was this time here for Thiago. Mason Houseman behind, Anthony Wayand ahead. Loose, and there it is.
Oh, yep.
That oversteer from the curb.
Yeah, you really got to attack that. You got to use all that track on the outside, but the car can get really upset. It's dangerous for the first few laps especially. And you kind of touched on it, the brake bias. I mean, that's the only thing you really get to adjust. It's the only thing you get to adjust with a fixed setup. So a lot of drivers, the faster ones, they're going to be running really aggressive brake bias. Oh, that's a nice move.
Garrett Thompson perfectly placed against Mercedes to get by the Lamborghini here of Diego Melo. Mason Houseman just behind this, less than a second back. He's in 6th now. But leading...
He's having a great day.
He really is. Overall, he's gone from 35th to 6th. That's just
insane.
That's incredible. But right here, this is your race leader, Cooper Brownell. He's got a 1.6 second lead over Alex DeMarco in 2nd. Houseman has just gone fastest. Oh, he's locked in. Yeah,
for sure. He's kind of, I mean, at this point now you're like, oh, all right, I'm in 6th. There might be a shot here. I mean, top 5 easily on the cards here. I think that's going to be a no-brainer. We'll see what he can do with pit stops, too. That'll be another thing, how his strategy is.
Oh, he got in deep there in 3.
Yeah.
You could tell he panicked a little bit. The wheel moved just a little tiny bit.
Little step on the brakes. Hope he got his brown pants on tonight.
Yeah, that was... That one will leave a skiddy, not on the racetrack, but yeah, that was a moment. But yeah, I do wonder about pit stops for these guys because, you know, the NASCAR guys, they're used to doing pit stops. So, you know, that's not the adjustment for them. I think it's going to be a matter of how they manage fuel because, you know, in oval racing, and even when you take oval cars onto road, it's typically dominated by tires more than fuel. But I feel like in road racing, at least at this level, you are at the mercy of fuel more so than tires. You know, we talk about double stinting in endurance races a lot, and maybe a little less now, you know, 7 tire models after I was racing, but you definitely still can go quite a ways in these tires, and especially in a 40-minute race. You know, in endurance racing, you're going at least an hour on a set of tires, typically. So these tires are not going to be worn out in these 40 minutes. You're keeping the tires on. It's all down to fuel management and draft management and positioning yourself in the queue on the racetrack and pitting at the right time to make sure you take as little time in the pit lane as possible. That is the small finesse stuff these guys converting over to road have to figure out. And I just wonder if Mason's going to have that from the get-go as he dives here on Melo. That was aggressive.
I'm surprised he made that move stick. You have a pretty big... You saw the huge bump. There's a huge bump there on the inside on that apex.
Diego's got problems. He checked up and got hit. His bumper is gone. That's the diffuser as well. Oh, this might be a little sketchy into turn 4. He's okay. Hung on.
Looks like he's holding it pretty well. You're definitely, you're kind of feeling your way around after something like that. You take contact, and you have to be like, okay, well, I have damage, but what is the extent of the damage? Can I still turn left? Can I still turn right? You know, which ways? And sometimes it just kind of snaps on you. You don't know how bad the damage is until it's,
You're in the session.
Good.
Are you able to tell me if he was removed or if he left on his own accord?
I don't see anyone connected or not. No, he didn't disconnect. He's still there, I think.
This is turn 3. He's still gone on time against scoring, but right here off the corner, he checks up. I don't know why. I mean, he about brake checked Anthony Wayand, and Wayand now I'm sure has he's missing his front bumper. So Wayand's race might have just been impacted.
That's tough. That's tough. Whenever anybody, you never want to do something unexpected. I don't know what his reasoning here was.
You'll see. There's the dive from Mason, but then he just jams on the brakes.
That's a... Maybe I wonder if he had a slowdown that he got like, you know, almost half a minute ago or more, where you know you got to serve it now.
Maybe, but you can't slam the brakes in the racing line. That's brake lights on.
Oh yeah, no, that's bad.
that's just becoming a hazard to everybody around you. And I mean, we're broadcasters, commentators in this case. We don't know everything that's going on for Diego in that case, but that's certainly not a good look. You know, that's impacting other drivers' races, potentially out of frustration. Obviously, we don't know the full story, but we can only talk about what we saw there, and, well, what we saw was a brake check, more or less. Whether it was for a slowdown or out of frustration, we aren't really sure. But pit stops will start up in about 10 minutes or so. And you know what we haven't talked about yet? Of course, we always have the North American Racing League Driver of the Day. We've talked about this for seasons on seasons now. We've done this for a while. What we have not done for very long is the Murtis Esports Mega Miss, as I can overlay graphics apparently. There we go. The Murtis Mega Miss. This is basically for any kind of close miss we see on the racetrack. We might have one here in a moment. Look at this fight up the hill. This is the turn 3. Stevenson and Thompson side by side. The Mega Miss is basically any close call on the racetrack. We might have some more still on the way.
Definitely, for sure. You see Hausman just biding his time. You know, the two guys in front of you are racing each other. That's a gift. We were talking about saving fuel. He might be able to kind of just naturally do that if he's patient, wait for your opportunity. Sometimes you can get a good exit and follow the faster car through when somebody makes an overtake.
Oh, that's close. Really close there. Stevenson is not getting much room. Contact now. Ooh. Thompson goes wide, but hangs on. And Thompson now plays defense over Hausman. Hausman will be aggressive. He will dive. And we see that even on the BRB side on Tuesdays. When he feels like he can make a move, as we saw to turn 3 a little bit ago, he's going to take it. As Stevenson now is back on the defensive. Thompson right behind him to turn 9. I'm excited for the rest of this AM season, just based on what we've seen already in the sprint race and the first 14 minutes here of the feature. This has been really, really good racing.
Yeah, it's good. There's so many good battles. A lot of good stories. Hausman, you know, he's feeling the pressure from Jenkins behind, and we've also got Alex DeMarco's closed up on Brunel for the lead. He's only 4/10 back now, so he might have something there. I don't know if he'll stay back. Just the Ferrari's going to get around. And
a lot just happened there in turn 1. Thompson has gone by Stevenson, who has fallen back to 5th. Hausman back to 6th. Jenkins went on through to 4th. So I think maybe some slowdowns and some bad cornering there for those guys. And these are the two leaders, Brownell and DeMarco. DeMarco has been putting in great lap after great lap, trying to chase this 49 car down. And we can actually check on lap times lately between these two. If you give me just a moment here to track them down, we can see right here. Well, no, hang on. Maybe let me toggle them here and try that again. Here we go. False alarm the first time. Brownell just ran his first lap. DeMarco just ran his fastest lap. So they each just ran their fastest lap of the race.
Wow.
DeMarco's, though, significantly faster.
He has got some serious pace. I think with that pace difference, if you're keeping that up, I mean, you probably don't have to sit around too much behind. But also, I mean, the amount of fuel you'd be able to save, you might just get it done in the pits and not worry about it. You got a big gap behind you. You're not worried about him slowing you down and backing you into Thompson. Thompson, as we saw, that whole group have their own battles to worry about, so the pressure's kind of off you right now. I think if you're DeMarco, you're kind of in the catbird seat right now. Another strong lap at 28.9. Brunel sped up, kind of answering the call there.
And Anthony Wayand is just at the pit lane. Here we go. Pit stops now. He does miss his box, but pit stops now. And this is probably the earliest you'd want to come in, and he, of course, comes in to get that nose repaired along with his normal fuel service, and he's down and away 13 seconds. That about mirrors what we saw last week as well.
Yeah, I think it mirrors what we saw last week. A lot of missed pit boxes. I think there's a lot of rust to knock off coming back and to a new season. It's definitely, you got to practice those pit stops. It costs you it seems like such a short amount of time, but I mean, even if it takes you half a second to back up, that's huge. That's like for DeMarco, for example, that would put him in front of Brownell. So really looking for those margins.
Absolutely. Well, we are approaching the halfway area of this race. Again, next up for these guys, for both pros and pro-ams, and even the AMs, next up for these guys on the schedule will be Spa, as Brendan Maddox has trouble down in the middle portion of the lap. He gets turned around but continues on. Seems like the car is okay, maybe just an honest spin. One of his BRB rivals in Richard Wolsifer will go on by, and they've got Braxton Skinner just behind, so 3 of them in a row. Wolsifer, Maddox, and Skinner, all from the same league, moving over here to run some races in NARL this season. They've also got, oh gosh, where did he go? The 55 of Zach Brandvold is actually a little bit ahead. Brandvold is in 16th, Turcotte is in 17th. He's, of course, an NARL regular, but then you have that string of 3 BRB drivers in 18th, 19th, and 20th, and they're all chasing and trying to be like the 83 of Mason Houseman, who's still up here. He's not quite top 5 anymore, he's now 6th, but still having a great day in car number 83. But to get back to my point, Spa is next up for these guys, and if you thought track limits were difficult here, Chris, oh my gosh. Next race for these guys, we aren't racing next week, but in 2 weeks when the pros get back in action, that is going to be the talk of the evening, track limits.
Now that's interesting. For me, I don't know, I haven't struggled as much historically with Spa, and I mean, this is one of my favorites, and I am notorious for just pushing it too hard. It might be because I think Spa kind of, in some places, will punish you a bit harder. But it also, it lets you, it lets you dip a toe in the gravel a little bit, so you can that kind of gives you that feedback as a driver. You can hear, okay, I touched it, that's the limit right there. So we'll see. It's definitely going to be an interesting track for sure. It's one of my favorites. I think it's that's why everybody voted for it, right? That's one of everybody's favorites. Always good racing at Spa.
It's definitely going to be an interesting round for these guys. Again, it's going to be good to return to that racetrack. It's been a long time since we've been there, not just as a series, but as a channel even. It just hasn't been on many schedules lately. For a while, like I said, when we had some more limited options across the sim, it was on schedules a lot. It was like kind of a default everybody typically had, especially in GT3 because of the 24 hours of Spa in July. But in recent years, I think people kind of got away from it because it was truly lacking in artwork. iRacing finally got a chance to update it, and now it's fantastic and working its way back onto schedules in a more regular aspect. But it's going to be a lot of fun to go there next up for this round, or for this series, rather. I'm excited. For once, I'm excited for Spa, I will say. But Brownell and DeMarco still leading the way. 20 minutes down, 20 minutes to go, more or less. And they're approaching some lap traffic. Nathan Fuller's in the pit lane. They've just passed him, but Christian Gritzko is just up the road. And again, to circle back on the moment for him, this is, of course, a difficult race. He had the trouble in turn 9 there on lap 1, but he's also got a lot going on in his mind. And again, our condolences certainly go out to the whole Gritzko family watching from Moldova. To my understanding, they're sleeping peacefully tonight, and they certainly deserve the slumber, but when they wake up in the morning, they'll be watching back to see how Christian did. And while it's not been the best of days for him, he has had some positives, and he'll get back on it. He'll get back going by Spa, or certainly by Indianapolis the round after, and he'll be back to his usual form. He's usually a contender here in this division of drivers, and he's still just beginning his trip through the iRacing ranks. He will have better days on the way. For sure. He's one that I've gotten to race with a lot. It's tough seeing him have a tough day. You just want an escape, and you want it to go his way. But there's still time to... I'm glad to see he's still out there. He hasn't called it. He's... try to catch the guy in front. Just give yourself something... A task, a goal. Like, okay, who's the guy in front? Let's close this gap and do a little bit of racing and have some fun. But yeah, he's normally so fast. He's top 5 for sure. And when he's not, if you don't get banged around, he's up there. He's putting the pressure on the leaders. Speaking of putting pressure on, some good battling here around the top 10 cutoff mark. Anthony Stone currently sits in that final top 10 position. He's the 99 car this season in a Mercedes. He has defended well so far over Scott Angelo and Jose DeLeo, who are just behind. DeLeo, by the way, we've recently seen him more so in Mustangs. I forget what car. I think it was a Mustang he ran last season, wasn't it? And here he is in a Corvette now.
I think so. Whenever I think of DeLay, I do think the Mustang. There's just kind of that. So it's going to be hard for me to break that habit, but and there you go. Crank it over. Try to get. He's keeping the pressure on. Fill his mirror up. That's what you want to do. He's another one of the quick ones, and everybody really is. I mean, it's kind of like we've talked about already. The pace is so close a lot of times. I mean, in practice, the top, I think from like third all the way down to like 15th or 16th was like 0.3, 2 or 3. Like it, if you can get in front of someone, it's a lot easier to stay in front, and you have to fight tooth and nail for every single position here.
Here we go, race leaders, turn number 9. Pit stops have officially begun with more and more drivers towards the back of the field hitting the pit lane that maybe haven't done any fuel saving. Again, fuel saving is going to be a thing I think that some of these NASCAR guys have to adjust to. And here we go, David Stevenson actually going to hit the pit lane, one of our very first leaders to do so from the Maradness M Squad. And I love that this was sent to me, by the way. Adam Brockway earlier this week sent me a spotter guide for the Maradness M Squad cars, and it's a really well done spotter guide, and I love that he took the time out of his day, and whoever made it took the time out of their day to create it. I certainly appreciate that. But every M Squad car in this AM division is the same. It's just different manufacturers. They're all the same design. It's that light gray with red and black trim. So I certainly appreciate it, and it will still help. But maybe go for some other colors, mix it up a little bit, find the rainbow there, Daniel Morad. I don't know. They're great looking race cars. I do genuinely love the direction they've gone with their paint scheme this season. The squad across the side, that is cool. But they're all the same design. So the spotter guide is still helpful, but I found it a little bit humorous and a little bit diabolical that they've gone for all the same color across their entries here in the AM series. And I think it's 6 different entries. As there we go, Brownell straight to the pit lane.
There it is.
And that was close. I might implore you to look on your own side here. Did he make the entry line?
Let me back up and see here.
It was very close. It seemed like a late call to hit the pits. But he is not alone. He's joined by Devin Jenkins and by Mason Houseman and by Miguel Alcrudo and many more.
He definitely made it in clean, so I think he's all right there.
I will say for those Maradness cars, they do have Daniel Morad is set to go in the red in the pro side, and then they have a red and a white car over in Pro-Am. So there, at least, it's a little more helpful. Mason Houseman off the pit lane. So this is a good point. 15 seconds versus the 13 we saw earlier. I don't think he was prepared to do any fuel saving based on that number.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, which is interesting because it seemed like he had the pace to really get away with it. But maybe it's, you want to. There's no cautions. You're not going to be going for extra laps here, so you don't need to worry about trying to give yourself extra fuel. That's why you see a lot of guys, as soon as the race is over, pull over to the side and just log out because they've given themselves, they're on fumes. They're not going to make it around again for a cool down lap. But yeah, that was a long stop. Looks like here comes Alex. See if his later stop pays off.
It was real close there to the white lines on entry. Might have slowed down a little bit early. And that, I think, is something drivers often forget. You've got to maximize your entry, not just down the access road and to the line. You've got to maximize speed. I mean, every bit of it, entry, exit, you've got to be on it. If you want to get the most out of your pit stop, you have got to go all the way to the line as fast as possible, still hit the line at the right speed, and then once you finish taxiing down the pit lane, and here, DeMarco is going to have a car ahead. That, I think, that's Guadagnoli in the 64. That's going to hold him up. Brownell's already passed. And so Guadagnoli just, existing, just held up DeMarco that much more.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. You really needed to have everything go right.
He's already over 3 seconds behind Brownell. That is huge. That is just unlucky. for Alex DeMarco. Guadagnoli did nothing wrong. He was simply exiting the pit lane on his own. You're managing his own race, and it just happened to impact DeMarco as he's now going to go side by side here into turn 4 with Pierre Thompson.
He's got the inside, so he should be able to hold this off, but you got to get that move done. So, yep, you can cut back and get the inside for the technical bit here, which, yep, the double left-handers, he's got it, so... Oh, that'll be impressive if he can swing that all the way around the outside. That's a long way. DeMarco's being pretty tight, conservative, and he's actually going to get the move done out there. That's impressive.
That is.
It's really hard. You can see Alex didn't really use all the track there. He's being pretty conservative. Maybe, just trying to avoid contact as, you don't want to lose any more positions. You might think he's got him on pace. So, just let him go for now and get settled and then come back and attack. You got plenty of time.
Frankly, DeMarco may also be frustrated with the 64. I mean, again, Bob did nothing wrong, but he's going to be frustrated that it happened, right? Even if he's not frustrated at the driver, particularly, because, again, Robert, nothing wrong there. He was just exiting the pit lane in his own race, but Alex, in this case, will be frustrated that happened. Even if he's keeping his cool on team comms and everything, he's not going to be happy that happened because it pulled him out of the battle for the win, and now he's sitting in third. So he might also just be pacing himself, a little bit of self-management here. Let it go, try to get it back after. Worst case, it's round 1. Third is nothing to scoff at.
No, for sure. That's a great result. That's a great start to the season either way. And, that the battle for P2 kind of cost him. So at this point, yeah, you got 12 minutes left. You're not really looking to track down Brunel. Maybe he'll make a mistake, but without the pressure, he's probably going to slow up now. So the real pressure is on Thompson. You want to try to get around him. I don't know if Thompson has it looks like it's kind of closing down. We'll see. I don't know how much Brownell has slowed down, but that gap has come down from 4 seconds to 3.5. So, I mean, if Thompson has the pace, DeMarco can just let him catch, and we might even get a three-way battle at this rate. It's already almost down to 3 seconds.
We'll keep our eyes on that battle ahead. This is a little bit behind them. Miguel Alcrudo, Armando Bejeron, and Jose De Leo. Jose, top 10 here this evening. Where did he start this feature? Down in 20th. Back on the subject of driver of the day and runs through the field, this might be one we look at. I'm not sure where he started the sprint race. You can tell me you're in the session, but this is an impressive run so far. He's looking for more on the inside there for turn 1. Ends up giving it back to Bejeron, but yeah, De Leo is really doing well for himself. Top 10 after starting 20th just in the feature here. That's very, very solid for him.
Yeah, definitely. He's come from, it says he started 33rd for the sprint race. So he also, like Hausman, has had a great day. Hausman's got himself in the top 5 after the pit stops. So he's also having a great time. Started 35th, and then 12th for the sprint race, or sorry, for the feature race. He started 12th on the grid.
Oh, a squeeze here. Tiago, be careful. There goes the bumper off of Scott Angelo's car. It's back. Okay. This is Tiago Tavela and Scott Angelo down to turn 4. Tiago being very aggressive with the defending, and Scott just runs right off the racetrack. But ultimately, that is maybe something to be a little more careful about if you're driving the 717. But I wanted to come back to him because he did win that sprint race earlier, and I think we're going to have to watch him certainly a whole lot this season. But this feature is going to be one that got away for sure. 14th right now. Maybe in contention to get up to 13th. I don't think he'll get 12th or above. And certainly with Scott Angelo right behind him and then that battle we just saw into turn 4, he could always end up lower. So he's got to be careful here at the back end of this race. But I think that's going to be a frustrating result for Tiago.
Yeah, for sure. He had such a strong sprint race. It seemed like such a good start, but that's why there's 2. You got to get through them both. And that's just kind of the luck sometimes. You invert the grid, you do really well, you get yourself out in front, and then 8 places kind of swap you down more into the middle of the beast where a little bit more of the chaos is. So it's a matter of survival, and sometimes you just get unlucky. But we'll definitely see him back for other races for sure. He'll be back at the front, no doubt.
Well, it's about that time, Chris. Your very first time nominating drivers now for the North American Racing League Driver of the Day conversation. I typically will put commentators on the spot and kind of just give you the floor. Do you want to go for that? Or I'll be willing to give you, if you don't want to do that, I'll give you 1 round reprieve.
Oh, I'm ready. I got a couple I've actually been looking at throughout the race. I think the one probably would have been your choice too, but I'll definitely go first to snatch him up. Mason Hausman. I mean, that's an obvious choice. Up into P5. He's coming from the ovals. So we were kind of wondering how he was going to do, and something happened in qualifying. I don't know if he didn't qualify, or it could have been track limits bit him, or any number of things there. But yeah, just an impressive move through the field for him. So he'd be my first choice, I think.
I very much agree. Mason deserves to be on this list tonight. I'm not sure what happened to him in qualifying, but from 35th in the sprint race up to 15th, I think it was, or no, 12th. You can see it there, 12th at the end of the sprint race. From 12th now to 5th, the competition gets stronger and stronger as you go further forward. He's still done a fantastic job of moving forward through this field, and I think has top 3 pace, but maybe missed it a little bit there earlier with the opportunity that he had to go higher in the top 5. So we might not be talking to him on the podium here tonight, but certainly we'll be talking about him for a good bit this season. I'm going to step in here. I'll nominate one as well, and I'm looking at the positions gained there on the left side of the screen as well on the ticker, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Jose De Leo off the board because I think he's done a fantastic job. From 33rd in the sprint race, I think he's the next logical choice in this conversation. If we're taking Mason for all that he's done going through the field, I think certainly Jose has to be on there too.
For sure, that's a solid choice. He's one I've been watching as well. For another one, if you want me to pop in one more here, it gets a little bit more tricky because there's actually a couple. I don't know. I kind of like Alex DeMarco. He's been pretty steady. Started 4th. He went back a little bit in the sprint race, but he kept his head together. And he's still sitting P3. He's still got that podium. But then I think really I might go with Miguel Acrudo. I mean, he's another one who moved through the field. You got a couple of guys, 2-3 guys who have really moved their way through the field starting the sprint. He started 25th, got up to 15th. Now he's up to 7th. Also having a quiet, good day. And I think that would be my second choice.
I'm going to have to go out and I think take the race leader for this. I want to go Peter Thompson because he's gained some spots here in this feature, but Cooper Brownell was not on our radar. He finished 7th in the sprint. I don't know this name. He doesn't even have like a custom livery. This is an iRacing default livery, it looks like, with the series decals thrown on top. We don't know anything about this guy. This is very cool to see, and I've got it here. I can show off. Where is he from? Yeah, USA.
Yep.
I don't know anything about him. The team sheet shows nothing, so he's an independent driver. This is cool. To have, I don't want to say a nobody, but realistically a nobody. We know so many of these drivers and have past experiences with them in past seasons and in other leagues. For Cooper to fly under the radar here, we don't know anything about the guy, and he's about to win the feature, it looks like. That speaks volumes to me. Even if he only has gained the 1 spot here on the feature and, finished 7th then in the sprint. This is a driver suddenly to watch out for, especially doing it in the Ferrari.
Yeah, especially. I mean, and actually, I'm kind of surprised it just slipped right past me under my radar like that. Because, it's independent Ferrari driver, like you said, new face. We don't really know him. He put himself in a position. He finished 7th, so he started a little further back in 16th, but managed to get himself up into that invert spot, which is really important. And then, he took advantage of it. He's like, all right, I got myself on the front row. Time to make a move. He got it done, and there he is. He's on his way to win his first race with us, so hopefully we'll see him up here a lot as well, but I really like that pick.
And he is now eligible with the other 3 drivers we mentioned on today's North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote. That is over on YouTube. So if you're watching over on Facebook or Twitch, we invite you to head over to YouTube to vote. That's the only place that supports it right now. So YouTube is the place to go. You've got the 4 options again: Houseman, DeLeo, Alcrudo, and Brownell up for vote. As we're watching a battle here for the 18th position, Richard Wolsifer, Armando Aarons, and then Brendan Maddox, Braxton Skinner, Dean Kerr, and some others right behind. Wolsifer on the right side. That is Aarons on the left side. Aarons getting a little frustrated, I think, with Richard, and a shot there. Wow.
Little rubbing, that's all right. Rubbin's racing, right?
From the NASCAR world, absolutely.
Oh, he didn't like that.
No, the flashing for at least a lap now.
That's one thing about that Mustang, though. It can take a hit a little bit more than other cars, and he's trying to get into his head and rattle his cage a little bit. Just bump him, let him know you're there. It's not enough to put him off or anything, and I mean, there's no slouch. I mean, Aarons was P2 at the end of the last season. Dean Kerr was P3, so we've got, I mean, it's further back in the field. Maybe the day hasn't gone quite the way you wanted, but these guys are fast, so.
Yeah, they definitely, Armando, and I mean, it was technically AM, I suppose, at the time. Like you said, he was towards the top of the division. He won some races. I forget if they were sprint or feature. We counted them the same, but yeah, I mean, Armando Aarons, Dean Kerr, Anthony Land, Alex DeMarco, Jose DeLeo, Christian Gretzko. Those are just the top 6 drivers that have converted to come over and run this AM division again this season. So those are guys to watch for, but also everybody else that we've seen be good here tonight in this season opener with this new batch of drivers. And I will give Brendan Maddox some props here. He's taking a shot here at Armando Aarons. I don't know how it's going to go for him as Armando squeezes in there like a lemon into turn 9. And that backs up to Braxton Skinner. Tough. This is just a train of really good fighting.
Definitely, you're going to be getting frustrated back there. Time's running out. You want the extra position. Yeah, Brownell just kind of cruising on home. I think he might have pulled up a little bit. No threat behind. Still got 1.8 seconds, so the gap's closed a little bit. But I would imagine that's probably more to Brownell just managing his pace. Don't make any mistakes.
So last lap, Cooper was a little faster.
Actually.
And he did run his fastest lap, but Pierre is on it. Pierre is definitely keeping Cooper honest here.
Wow.
And here we go. White flag. White flag now. Cooper a 29.0. Pierre a 28.7. Maybe not. The lap disallowed, it looks like. Must have gone off track. So white flag now brought to you by Whiplash SimCams, but Pierre is keeping him honest. Now he's fallen back a little bit. 2.3 seconds, 2.5. It might be over now, but for a moment there was a breath of life in this battle for the race lead. Now it's kind of going away. Now, here we go. Mason Houseman, David Stevenson up the hill. This could get fun.
Not content with the top 5. He's trying to get P4. Yeah, that's a move that's worked on the inside for a while. There you go. Great exit. That was a great... I mean, and I wonder, because coming from that NASCAR, it's so hard to put the power down on road circuits. With there we go, a little bit defensive, but he backs out. That's excellent work. Great move by Houseman. It's that the throttle control coming out of the hairpin of 3. That was excellent. That was really great to get that done on the outside.
Maybe using the body a little bit to finish that pass off, but Mason certainly got it away there from Stevenson. Final 2 corners now for a prospective race winner, Cooper Brownell. We still don't know anything about this guy. We might be talking to him here in a moment if he accepts the interview. But what a day for driver 49. From south of 20th on the original sprint race grid to winning here in the feature race at Red Bull Ring in the AM division. Cooper Brownell is now a North American Racing League race winner. What a job well done there. It'll be Pierre Thompson, Alex DeMarco finishing off the podium. Mason Houseman just 1 spot shy as more and more drivers come around to finish this first round of racing. We'll let everybody cycle through it, of course, check in with the official, or unofficial rather, race results. And we'll be talking to our podium drivers here shortly. There is a fight between Skinner and Kerr. This is down, oh man, this is for 20th. This is not over. Big dive, Dean Kerr, wow! Braxton Skinner shut it down.
Well held.
Oh, real tight. Gonna be a drag race. Dean trying to get there, Braxton covers it, but it's gonna be Braxton Skinner for P20. Wow, what a battle there to the line for those couple of spots. And then this is a driver I think we're still waiting to see more out of now. Emilio Almiron, who had the unlucky start to the day in the sprint race, never did recover. But I think he's one to watch for as the season goes on, as we get to Spa and other rounds like that. And then Richard Wolsifer, boy, he fell down the order. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he's down here in 25th now. He must have had an off at some point. A recent one at that. I mean, those are lead lap cars behind him. And I don't show him as having pitted again. Well, no. He may have, actually, because look at the pit timer here in a second. The pit timer's reset to 4 seconds. He might have had to top off on fuel.
Yeah, trying to play it a little too close, trying to get that advantage. Less fuel, less weight, but it can bite you.
So there is Cooper Brownell into the pit lane. He will hop out of the car. Technically, the session has not completed because Richard hasn't crossed the line. He's still on his final lap of racing. So we're waiting on that before we show you the unofficial race results. Want to make sure the results are at least final on the session side so that we can go through them accurately. But Richard Wolfsville will come around and collect what will be the 25th position. Here we go. Braxton Skinner. Uh-oh. Some stuff is changing here. Dean Kerr was just boosted to 18th. 16th, actually. And Skinner is now listed as 24th.
Maybe one too many off tracks there at the end.
I don't know. I've not seen that adjust quite like that before. Were there a series of disqualifications? Can you see that on the session side?
I see a bunch of disconnect, but it's just from... Okay, here we go. It's moving around a lot as people leave, but... Jeff Denardi disqualified. Diego Melo disqualified. And it doesn't say how old those are, but there's a couple disqualifications, but that's all I see there.
Yeah, Anthony Astone got brought back there as well. Anthony Astone, Brendan Maddox, Armando Aarons, and Braxton Skinner all ended up being moved back. Interesting. We'll try to find out more on that, but we are on a tight schedule here, so we will go ahead and get into race results. Boy, what a day again for Cooper Brownell. He just might win this Driver of the Day vote. He's up against Mason Houseman. Fair enough between those two. Pierre Thompson, second place. Alex DeMarco, third. And of course, this is just the second race results. This does not account for the sprint race, but for the second race here, the feature race, this is how things break down with Brownell, Thompson, and DeMarco on the podium. We'll talk to each of those three if they're willing to give us the interview. Mason Houseman, David Stevenson, your top five. Devin Jenkins from being really, really good there in the sprint race earlier tonight to sixth. Just never really fired back through the field here in the feature. Miguel Alcrudo, seventh. Jose De Leo, Armando Bejaran, and Anthony Wayand. Good to see he still grabbed a top 10 tonight.
Yeah, so then moving further down. So finishing 11th, Mark Booley. 12th, Diego Tavala. Mark Booley, he's a regular. There's a lot of mix back here of regulars and new faces. Diego Tavala in 12th. Scott Angelo, 13th. Dominic Turcotte finishes 14th. Saul Morin Sharon, sorry, apologies, 15th. Dean Kerr down in 16th, followed by Norman Padavani in 17th. Zachary Brandvold in 18th. Emiliano Almiron, who had some bad luck there. He had good pace. It's unfortunate. 19th. And finally, rounding out 20th, Billy Bowerman.
And back in 21st position this evening, it sounds like we might have a clue of what happened here. We're being told that Brendan Maddox collected 15 incidents by the end of the race. So it sounds like the last corner he got himself an incident penalty, and that sent him back. He gets 22nd here, but it sounds like that might be the case as well for Stone, Aarons, and Skinner. Then on the final lap, they got incident penalties and therefore get thrust to the back of the field. Richard Wolsifer gets credited 25th, one lap down. Christian Gritzko 26th on back through Guadagnoli. Buenaventura, Smith, and Hendricks, your top 30.
Then we got in 31st, Nathan Fuller. 32nd, Wilton Palermo. 33rd, Corey McQueen. 34th, Dan Sales. 35th, Diego Melo. 36th, Jeff Denardi. And 37th was Nicholas Renner, who looks like a lot of those guys, pretty much everybody out early here. So,
and that'll wrap up the on-track portion of the evening. Let's go ahead and talk to our top 3 drivers here tonight. Of course, beginning with tonight's race winner, and tied for the lead of the North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote, Cooper Brown. Oh boy, we don't know anything about you. Here you are on an iRacing default paint scheme, and you gave these guys what for? What experience do you have? Because clearly you used it all tonight to grab this one.
I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of racing on iRacing just in terms of the open lobbies and stuff, but I got an invite to this league from a buddy, a couple of buddies that are doing it, and I was like, sure, seems like fun, but not really any sort of special experience. And honestly, I just got lucky to finish P1, but I'll take it.
Hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good. But how about the Ferrari for the car choice? I know, down in the AM class, I think it's more so on driver comfortability and what you can handle over the course of 8 races at very different racetracks, more so than going for the meta car choice up in the pro category. But why the Ferrari for you?
That absolutely, it's just comfortability. I mean, I like mid-engine cars, and I know I like mid-engine cars, but the McLaren's just a little bit too slow right now, so I figured, screw it, let's go out there with the Ferrari, because the most important thing for me is just a car that I know instead of a car that I think is going to be 0.3 faster on the best day. And you never know when they'll change the BOP, so might as well just go out there.
And looking forward in the schedule, Spa next up, Indianapolis, Mexico. Definitely a solid variety of racetracks across these 8 rounds. What are you looking most forward to?
I just doing the whole season. I mean, not really any tracks in particular. I mean, Spa, of course, everyone loves Spa. Everyone loves racing on Spa. But I'm just excited to do the season with the boys and see where it ends up.
Already a feature race winner here at the North American Racing League, and just here for the vibes with the boys. I like it, Cooper.
Yes,
best of luck the rest of the season. Glad to talk to you here in round 1, and I think we'll be talking to you some more.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for broadcasting.
Appreciate your time. That's Cooper Brownell with the race win here in the feature event. We'll move on down to Pierre Thompson, and you'll be chatting with this driver, Chris. You'll be on the other side of the mic here this evening. Driver finishes 2nd. That's certainly a good start to things for Pierre.
yeah, definitely a great way to start the season. It's very important to start the season off on a good note, and kind of a quiet day. Good to see you, Pierre. It looked like you managed to survive. There's a lot of people that actually had... I mean, it's hard to survive both races, especially the first one back. Everybody's knocking a lot of rust off. I think we might have lost him here.
Try to bring him back in. Pierre, do you got us?
There we go. You with us, Pierre? Might be having some technical difficulties.
Well, we'll give him a moment to see if he can straighten that out, and we will go on down to 3rd place then for a moment, and that will be Alex DeMarco. So we'll bring in the driver that does finish 3rd instead, and that's the first M Squad driver I believe we're talking to this season. And Alex, 3rd place here in the feature. My mind blanked there. The feature race, I think you finished 5th there in the sprint, or 6th, or right around there. What was the racetrack out there like this evening, and getting back to racing with this new group for the AM series?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's so great to be back with NARL, and good to have you back in the broadcast booth again. I definitely missed being away, but it's always a great time racing at Red Bull Ring. It's a relatively wide track at points, so I feel like you can really make some moves happen for sure. Sprint race felt pretty good for the most part. I was running a little higher up the field, and unfortunately locked the tires, locked the fronts going into turn 1, and pushed wide and got a slowdown, which dropped me down to 6th. But it was fortunate that we have this reverse grid system to kind of move me back up the order, and definitely was fighting Cooper pretty hard. He's got incredible pace. I had a couple of times where I was going to try to send it on him and just didn't feel like I quite had it. But it was, congrats to him. He had excellent pace. He did a heck of a job.
I'm sure you wish you could have that pit cycle back because of, how you exited the pit lane right behind another car. But, if that had gone to plan, and if you had stayed with Cooper, where would you have, tried to strike?
I mean, it seemed like the times I had the most pace on him was those kind of twisty corners going into the second sector. I was trying to catch him through there, and I could kind of close up. And then there was a couple moments where I was getting better exits coming out of that last corner, and I felt like I would have been able to get a run on him there. But stuff like that happens. Unfortunately, lost a little time on that exit, and it slowed me down a little more than I'd like. But that's racing. So.
Well, it's good to talk to you again, Alex. It's been a little while. Congratulations on a podium finish here in the feature, at least, and certainly a lot to build off of for Spa in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much again for doing the broadcasting, and looking forward to being back here soon, hopefully.
Alex DeMarco with a solid showing here for the Maradness M squad. Let's try Pierre Thompson one more time. Here is driver number 18.
All right, yeah, we bring him in here. Pierre, I don't know if you can hear me. We're... You kind of had a pretty steady, pretty quiet day with a really good result, and you started out, start the season out really strong, finishing P2. I
tried to keep it clean,
Yeah.
Because a lot of chaos, so qualifying definitely, was the reason why I was able to stay up front.
Definitely, there was, and you did keep it clean. You kept it, even in some scenarios where we weren't sure. It looked like it was going to get a little dicey. Specifically there at the end, you had a great move after the pit stops going around the outside of Alex DeMarco in 6 and 7, and it's so hard to overtake there. How hard was that to pull off and keep it clean around? Because Alex he was challenging for the lead, so he's got some pace.
Yeah, and I was definitely sweating. I was hoping he wasn't going to wash up into me because, that's a really unusual pass, but we kept it clean, and I went on through there. I actually thought that was a pass for the lead, and I looked down and I saw I was in second. But yeah, Cooper was gone at that point. I couldn't catch up.
Yeah, that was another thing I was going to ask, because you did close the gap a little bit, but I wonder if the battle between you and Alex kind of slowed you guys down enough that he was able to.
I think Cooper managed
the
the gap well. I think he ran his own pace. We were trading faster laps, lap after lap. But I think he just realized that he could, keep his pace, and if I got a little bit closer, then he extended the lead again. But it's hard as a racer not to step over the limit. So I was trying just to bring it home. Good points day. I think overall I should have the most points because I came. I believe 3rd and 2nd, and I think Cooper was 6th or 7th in the first race. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, very good racing, very good overtake. You put on a very good show. So we look forward. I'm sure we'll hear from you again this season. So thank you very much.
Sounds good, guys. Take care. Thanks. Bye.
And that is Pierre Thompson with a solid showing here in the second spot, and he's now the second Jamaican driver we've ever spoken with here on Pit Stop TV. Actually, Jordan White, the first Jamaican driver we ever spoke with here on the channel. He runs in the BRB Sundance Pro Series. But we, of course, have places to be, people to see, and super late models to get around the racetrack here shortly. This is what's upcoming. There you go. Yeah, January 15th, that's today. We have got a mystery round coming up in just a few minutes for the Sarah Pierce Fleet Supers. Pierce Fleet Service Super Series. It's a tongue twister, a complicated name there, but a really great racing series. Super late models on track here tonight. You've got to tune in a few moments to find out where they're racing. Yes, they do it that way sometimes. Some mystery rounds for those guys. But Chris, there you see we have multiple of those BRB races coming up where you'll see some of these same drivers that were on track tonight in oval cars. Darlington and Echo Park coming up, a classic NASCAR, what was a super speedway at one point, alongside what is now a super speedway. Really crazy racing. They're Their chase format is coming up soon to fight for the championship. Must watch racing these next 2 Tuesdays for the BRB Sundance Pro Series to find out who is fighting for the Season 5 championship. Chris, before we get out of here for the evening, I gotta ask, how was this? Switching out the steering wheel for a mic tonight.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know if I would want to have to pick one over the other. Hopefully I don't have to do that. It's fun doing both. But, it's great. It's so much fun getting to be able to watch because, I mean, the quality of the racing is still top-notch. It doesn't matter the division. Everybody's so fast, so tight, clean racing. Oh, it's great. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you letting me come and join you and do this.
Absolutely. This is kind of an open invite to pro drivers if you want to give it a shot. Pro and Pro-Am drivers. Give me drop a line. I think we'll certainly invite you back, Chris, but try to get maybe a rotation of some other drivers here for these amateur races. But thank you so much, Chris, for being here. And a big thank you to our partners with the series. Don't worry, I've not forgotten about Driver of the Day just yet. But a big thank you to Muradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service, and Rocket Designs. And a big thank you as well to our partners here at the channel, Whiplash SimCams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murtis Esports. We never really had a Murtis Mega Miss, but I promise we will here shortly in the Sarah race, CC's Business, and the North American Racing League. And in terms of that Driver of the Day vote, are you ready to find out who won it?
Yes, the anticipation is just too much.
Boy, the vote has swung. I think Miguel Alcrudo might have found out he was up for nomination because he got some votes very, very late here, and Miguel Alcrudo will be today's Driver of the Day. I did not see that coming at all. I'll be honest. I thought it was certainly going to be between Houseman and Brownell, but late in the vote, Alcrudo swings it.
Well, he definitely, I mean, they all deserve it. That was kind of part of it, right? There was so much going on, so many good battles, and a lot of good stories for this race. A lot of guys, managed to avoid all the chaos and have really good days, and he was one of them. So well-deserved. Good job on the Driver of the Day. Earned it.
So there you go, Miguel Alcrudo with the Driver of the Day honors. Otherwise, we, of course, have super late models to get to. Again, this is what's upcoming. Make sure to tune in right back here. So go back to the channel page if you're watching on YouTube or whatever. Go back to how you found us, I suppose, and get ready for some super late model racing. A complete mystery round coming up in just a few moments. Thanks for tuning in, though, this evening. This has been Pit Stop TV with the North American Racing League. We'll see you in the next one.